Armstrong, it's a great pleasure to be with you today.
Man, I don't, you know what, for one of the rare times, I really don't know where to start. Minnesota law prevents seating any senator as long as there are disputes in the court. Minnesota has no senator to date. Al Franken has not been seated. You have not been seated. Is it worth the fight? And how do the people fare not being represented as this process continues?
So those of us, when I say we, those of us who have had the honor to serve as public servants, public officials, we serve with the consent of the governed. You're not going to get that consent if the governed, if the citizens don't think that the guy who got the most votes is the guy that got elected, sits in the office. And so we're going through a process now to make sure that every valid vote is counted and no vote is counted more than once. And so I believe that Minnesotans want to get it right. On election night, I was ahead, over 700 votes. We began a recount process, and I was ahead a couple hundred votes. We went through a canvassing board, and during that part of that process, they brought into consideration some absentee ballots, which had been rejected election night, but were then put in by counties to be reconsidered. They did a small universe of votes, which happened, by the way, to come from mostly Democrat areas. But the canvassing board in the Supreme Court left the issue of all the absentee ballots, which should be counted to a three-judge panel. At the end of the canvassing board, Mr. Franken then had a lead of 225 votes. But an artificial lead, since all the votes haven't been counted, we're in the midst now of a three-judge panel. I just left the courtroom a little while ago. It will probably take another couple of weeks. But in the end, all the votes that should be counted, I hope will be counted, and no votes counted more than once. And if that's the case, then I expect to be where we were on election day, which is still ahead. But the people of Minnesota understand that you got to get it right.